to go back and fix it. Get yourself right with God. Now, back up. Jesus is at the temple. The temple is the place people went and hung out. It was a little bit like a marketplace, a little bit like a flea market, because you got to buy all those things. Remember Jesus went in and turned over all those tables? It was a great flea market. All kinds of stuff for sale that had to do or didn't have to do with temple worship. And also, I can tell you, anytime you got two religious people as Methodist pastors in the same room, you have a gossip session. I can promise you that. So everybody just goes down to the temple to see what's going on. Do you remember one time when Jesus took the boys in, the disciples? They're all country boys. He took them into the temple. The temple is this immense edifice. And at this period in history, it's covered with gold. And the finest of drapes. It's just huge. And it's bigger than I can imagine. It's bigger than any of these guys can imagine. And they walk through the temple. And they're country boys, so their amazement is not hid whatsoever. And they look at those big blocks of stone. This will be here forever. And I imagine Jesus running his fingers down the stone. And what does he say? He says, this will be destroyed, and in 3 days it will be raised up. Well, we don't know if Jesus is talking about the temple or himself. And in fact, I think he's talking about the temple and himself, because historically, and I'm not an accurate history buff, so please forgive me if I'm not right on the money, 70 years later after this, the temple is crushed. There is no stone left on stone. And in fact, all that's left is what you could go there today. They call it the Wailing Wall. And it is a sacred place, and people go there to pray because it's as close as they can get to the old. And in fact, you can go online, and you can type in a prayer and send it to the right little place, and a little Jewish guy with those cute little curls, he'll go hold that prayer up and stick it in, because that's the practice. I hope to go there one day and do that. But Jesus says, everything this temple represents, everything that this temple seems to be stability, do you realize that the temple, which was for the worship of God, God did not save the temple? Think about that. God did not save the most valuable physical building that comes out of our biblical Old Testament heritage. Come back to Hebrews. The writer of Hebrews is talking about how they used to make offering. And they would go to the temple, and they would make the offering, and the offering would come from an animal that they had purchased, and as soon as you got it done, and as soon as you left, you really had to do it over and over. And then he talks about the sacrifice of Jesus Christ. And the sacrifice of Jesus Christ, though he hung out in the temple, where was the sacrifice of Jesus Christ given? On a hill, on a cross, over a garbage dump. So we go from an image of power and ritual and righteousness to an image of powerlessness and brokenness and despair. And in that act, this is where I get lost. How did that act on that cross on Golgotha have anything to do with my salvation? This is when I'm standing looking at the engine going, how does it work? If you go to theology, there are a couple of, I give you a couple more big words, but I don't use them very often because they might hurt me if I use them. There's a word, salvific. It comes from salvation. when ministers get to talking about deep stuff, they call it salvific. And those are good things. And the more we understand about how this worked, because Paul used used images about pain and death. He used about setting us free. There are all kinds of images that help us understand this multi-dimensional act of Jesus Christ working out our salvation. Salvific. But if we really want to get down to the interior of it, we call it soteriology. The study. You read about that every day, don't you, do? You got it. Absolutely. But again, these are the ways we talk about how the sacrifice of Jesus saves us. And the more we understand it, the more valuable it becomes. Because as we talk about this, we talk about Jesus not having to do it every time we screw up and we muddy it up, but Jesus doing it once. It talks about the priest offering the blood of an animal for which he's purchased, and how Jesus offered his own blood, his own life. The blood always represents life. And then, when Betty read to us earlier, she read about the temple. The people were coming and going. What did Jesus warn about?
Looking at you making yourself up.
Yeah. He was watching the people walking by with their fancy-dancy robes, watching them pray long prayers, and getting the front seat up in the front. And he says, don't be like that, because it's not going to last anymore. What lasts? The lady who gave the 2 cents. That's the piece that lasts. And that's grace. Somehow, some lady, before Jesus' wonderful experience of grace, because actually, let me tell you the only thing I know for sure, and I'm willing to go on the date. When Jesus died on the cross, it was an act of grace for all of creation, including me and you. It makes no logical sense. It is ridiculous to think that the God of the universe would find a way to save us by dying. But he did. And that's grace. It's just grace. Somebody said to me, justice is what we deserve. We are all broken and bad. Somehow. We are all broken and bad. Mercy is what we get that we don't deserve. Mercy. But grace is what we get, and we will never deserve it. Ever. And it comes, grace comes. The gift of Jesus Christ, the salvation that Jesus offers us, comes every day. You've heard my story about grits, right? If you don't, I'm going to tell it to you. It's one of my key stories in life. A salesman from up north hears about all these Southerners. They'll buy anything. Comes down with his bags, goes to a little country town, and is going to sell his wares. Spends the night in the hotel, gets up the next morning, goes to the cafe, and the old gal with the little green pad that writes, your breakfast, he says, I think I have a cup of coffee, and eggs, and bacon, and biscuits. And she scurries off, brings him in coffee, and then brings him his plate of food, and there's his eggs, and his bacon, and his biscuits, and his pool of white stuff. He says, what is this? She says, there's grits. He says, but I didn't order grits. And she says, it just comes. Grace comes. Grace just comes. The love of God comes. God, we don't deserve anything. And God says, I want to do it. We want to do it ourselves. We want to fix it. We want to be right. We want to do it ourselves. And God says, let me do it for you. In any of this that we read in Hebrews, did you hear any part that created salvation that was done by